what's your biggest concern for this group right now moving forward? I know we talked before the Chargers game, and I said, look, give me a path to victory for the Chargers, and you said takeaways. It was very, very easy. It was turnovers. It was forcing turnovers, and the Chargers were able to get a couple on Sunday night. Is that your biggest concern here with the Texans? What stands out to you if you're a Patriots fan and you want to look at some potential areas of damage where Houston can, really kind of inflict some damage on you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the turnovers, the interceptions or fumbles. That's going to be a key to every single game, is not to turn the ball over. We clearly did it more than we've done in the past in this game, and I think that made this game closer than it could have been, right? If we didn't have these turnovers. I think what stood out to me a little bit this game was the ability for them to get to Drake, and this was, Mac on the outside. They weren't just nobodies. Like, they have some guys that can rush the passer, but we were a little soft on the left side, and that stood out to me a little bit. Now, was that second game back? We haven't played. We haven't been around. We've been off. Weren't meshing. There's a lot of things there. But what I noticed, and mostly I'm talking about Will, right, is he does once he makes contact with you, he's very good. He's good with his hands. He's good with his feet. It's where he was picking up the contact, right? And I think a lot of times he was giving that soft edge, right? And he was giving the ability for these guys to kind of push in, close the pocket down on Drake probably a little bit quicker than he wanted to, forcing him to step up and make some decisions. Like, that was definitely in the back of his mind throughout this game. And they did a good job of not rushing past them and kind of folding over top. And, they were able to get some key sacks on Drake that way, rushing off one side, folding in on the other, playing some different games. So I think that's something that I think that they're going to look at, right? I think that Josh is going to take advantage of this. He's going to look at this game film. He's going to make the corrections. I think that there's got to be a bigger stand up front a little bit, and know that the Texans are going to be they're watching. They're watching the same film that everyone else is watching, right? They're going to see Mac in the bull rush coming in off the left side. They're going to see him get to the quarterback, and they're going to see the different games that they played to try to get Drake on the ground. Obviously, I think everything they can do all that, and obviously Drake is still very good with his feet, so you have to be mindful of that. And he made some big plays with his feet, so I think that Drake still has to continue to do that, take care of the football, and maybe make some plays down the field. But I don't have any concerns. I think that there's stuff to clean up, because I think that overall this is a good football team, and they're well coached. And we made some mistakes and we turned the ball over, and that happens, right? That's football, man. Our guys stepped up where they needed to step up. Our defense, special teams, they picked up the slack where it needed to be, and that to me is very reminiscent of when I was there, right? In 2016, 17, 18. If our offense wasn't meshing or we weren't clicking, or so, defense stepped up, special teams stepped up, and we made some plays there, and we found ourselves, and they put us in better positions. We won the field position battle. We were able to put points on the board when we needed to, and they were able to make big stops when they needed to. That's how I felt watching that football game. Now going into this game, it's totally different ball game with the Houston Texans. Really is. I mean, they got some players.
Yeah, this Houston team really, for me, it begins and ends. Excuse me. It begins and ends on the defensive side of the ball. They're second in the league during the regular season in points against, 17 points per game. First in total yards allowed, sixth in passing yards, fourth in rushing yards. What is the game plan here if you're Josh McDaniels and you do have questions, things to clean up on the offensive side of the ball going into a game like this against such an elite defense? What are some of the priorities when Josh sits down with the guys on the offensive side of the ball on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? What are some of the most important things that he's going to hit on moving forward?
I mean, I can tell you that today, yesterday, his meetings with Drake, his meetings with the offense, it's all about taking care of football. It's going to be number one, ball security, not giving the ball up, positive plays, and we've done such a good job of that this entire year of keeping the ball moving forward. I mean, listen, Ramondre ran the ball great. We were able to move the ball decent, but it wasn't what we've known for this season of how New England can. Drake didn't look as methodical on offense as he has been. And, listen, again, he's been doing it for 16, 17 weeks, and everyone's due for not a great game or good performance, but his team backed him up. So I think that it's just we're not going to go out here and try to reinvent the wheel. I think Josh is going to stick to what he knows. He's faced off against these guys before. He knows what's going to work in the playoffs. He's going to be he's going to be unpredictable, but he's going to stick to what we run, what we do well, right? There's going to be a mix of movement. There's going to be a mix of formations. There's going to be a mix of personnel. And we're just going to go out there and play our game, right? I still think that there's going to be a little wrinkle in there, and you're going to see something, right, just to kind of throw the Texans off a little bit. And, when you mix in those big plays, man, those are morale killers, right? Where it's like, we gave up a 3rd and 12 to a flea flicker or, something like that. But anyways, Josh is not concerned at all. I think that he's gonna overemphasize the sense of urgency that needs to go into this game. It's a one game season again. Everything that we have put into this. Watch this film. This is a good Houston football team. They have got Nick. That's probably a undermentioned thing, but Josh I know he's thinking about it, right? Like Nick Caserio is in those meetings, right? He is giving any sort of Braxton Berrios is in those meetings, right? What is John? What are the signals? What does he call? What is this? What is that? What does this mean? Any information that you can get right now at this point in the season, in the playoffs, right? They're going to use, right? They might not get anything. They might get something. They might get something that helps them make a huge play in the game, right? So, the Houston is going to come in here. I think that they're going to watch this game the way that the Chargers kind of attacked us on defense, and they're probably going to try to replicate some different things, stick to what they do because they are one of the best in the league this year in playing defense. And then offensively, it's going to be a battle, right? I mean, I think our defense versus their offense is a good matchup, man. I mean, I don't think the Chargers really had a lot of guys, right? Like Lad McConkey, Keenan Allen. We kind of kept them at bay. We weren't really concerned about it. They had some banged up running backs. There wasn't really anyone that we were overall concerned with offense that we were. All right, but this team is different, right? Nico Collins. You got some other guys that could really stretch the field, make some plays down the field. So it's going to be a bigger test in our secondary for sure. And a mobile quarterback that kind of move his feet, and he's capable of making plays outside the box and keeps his eyes down the field. I mean, these are all things that we're going to have to prepare for. So it's definitely going to be a much bigger test for our defense, and I think that our offense is going to need to be the people and be the side of the ball that steps up, right, and kind of backs up our defense now, regardless of what the Texans are able to do offensively. Coming into Foxborough, right? I mean, that's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a dome team that plays in a dome.
Yep.
They got nice.
It's going to be 30 degrees.
It's going to be. I hope it gets even colder, right? I hope that the weather report just continues to go down, because there's something to be said about that. I mean, I know Houston probably doesn't want to talk about it, but you're playing a dome all year round, and you're in Houston, and it's nice and it's 70, and there's no humidity in there, and then you got to come to Foxborough, and it's 30 degrees with a negative 10-degree wind chill. Game gets closer, it gets a little out of reach. They don't want to be there. They're going to go home.
32% chance of precipitation on Sunday afternoon. 32%. When it, at least at kickoff anyway, it's supposed to get the chances are supposed to get even better for rain or snow as the day goes on. We've talked about this before. I do a mailbag for the Boston Globe, and the predominant number of questions I got in the wake of the Chargers game was about the offensive line. And we talked to Garrett Bradbury a little bit about this yesterday, and I'm curious to get your take on this. I think there is maybe, I don't want to say we give them a mulligan for what happened against the Chargers, But when you consider the fact that Garrett Bradbury didn't practice until Friday because of an illness, Morgan Moses was down because of an illness, Jared Wilson was in his first game back, and he was wearing the Guardian cap after the concussion protocol, and this was the second game back for Will Campbell. I'm not interested in making excuses for this group, but could we conceivably sit here and say, look, like you mentioned before, this was the first game back for a couple. This is the second game back for a couple guys. They're still kind of rounding back into form. It takes a while, as Bill has always said, to get back into football shape. You can't just run around the track. You need to go out there and you need to play for 60 minutes. And so I think they need to be able to rise to the occasion, but I'm willing to cut them a little bit of slack for what happened against the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about. I think that there was a lot of things that played into it. I heard there was an illness, some sick, guys were getting sick, and there was something running through the locker room, and that's unfortunately that's we're at this point of the year where everyone's got something going on, right? And Will is the second game back, so him getting into shape, and he hasn't he hasn't dropped back or taken his setbacks in a while, or against a guy like like Khalil Mack, right? So there's some things that we needed to kind of get back up to speed, and listen, that's totally fine. We did what we needed to do. I'm just saying it will need to be better going forward in the playoffs.
Yes.
And I think they know that. Josh knows it. Drake knows it. The entire team knows it, right? And there's nothing that I'm going to look at on this offense and be like, I don't know if we have the guys. We have the guys, right? We're able to do it. We've shown that we've been able to do it. It's just all about performing and just being a little bit better. I think that every single one of them, if you'd ask them face to face, if that was their best performance, they're all going to say no. There's no way, right? They only put up one touchdown, 16 points, and it wasn't great, right? We were 3 and outs. We were a couple drop passes. We had the turnovers. It's stuff that we haven't really done a lot of this year, and we haven't had to talk about. So, sure. All right, let's watch the film, clean it up, and let's be better, right? Because Houston's watching this film. They're going to see the things that we didn't do well, and they're going to try to exploit that. Now, if we come out in this game and we start doing these things better, now it's okay, cool. This is a ball game, right? This is going to be a 4-quarter game, 100%. I know it's going to be. I mean, shoot, all these games. I mean, the playoff football is spectacular.
Tremendous.
Other than last night, which, I'm happy to see the Steelers go down like they did in flames, but just some really good football, man. I mean, the teams are playing well, so let's just rise to that occasion. This is going to be a good football game, and we're just going to have to play our best game of the year because there is no tomorrow up until that game, right?
You referenced him a couple of times, and I'd be curious to hear more about your thoughts on Nick Caserio. Some of our younger listeners or viewers might not know the depth of his connection to New England. This is a guy who fundamentally grew up as an executive with the Patriots. He spent time as a coach for, I believe, 1 year. He was in the booth. He was on the headsets on game day. What makes Nick unique, and what makes him so valuable to the Texans when it comes to this matchup?
I think Nick was, first and foremost, he was, one of my all-time favorite GMs, people just to be around. You could come to him with anything. I've never been around a general manager that wanted to be in the locker room more than him, or wanted to be on the sidelines, or be or in meetings, offensive meetings, defensive meetings. I mean, his football knowledge is extensive. And he's been around the game for a long time, and you can tell, and when I was there in New England, he's been around Josh, he's been around Bill, he's been around Tom. I mean, he is a guy that doesn't just do, numbers, right? He's not just an incredible GM that can kind of manipulate contracts and make him look good and do what's best for the team, but he's also an X's and O guys, man. I mean, he knows football. And, the Texans were, I think, extremely lucky to land Nick just because of his background, right? And his knowledge of building a team and knowing what works and knowing what doesn't work, and his how he studies personnel and gets the right guys in the door. And it wasn't perfect right away, but you could look at this team now. Look what he's been able to do. And I think that really comes down to him, right? Ownership and the guys that he's able to bring in, and the contracts and the players and the coaches that he's been able to. And this is a good football team. And I think a lot of that you got to give credit to Nick. He's been able to build it. They gave him the opportunity, and he's done it. So I think it's going to be very nostalgic for him to come back into Foxborough, be on the other side of this, just because he's been through so many playoff games and there's still so many connections that he has. There's not a lot of players that he knows, but he was around Mike, he's around Josh, and he's played he's been a part of a lot of big playoff games in that stadium. So I think it's going to be cool, man, for him to come back into Foxborough, be on the other side of this thing. But he's not just a guy, right? He's not just a GM that just was kind of on the outside. Like when I tell you he's going to be in meetings this week, he's going to be in meetings. Like he knows this. He knew the offense just as well as we did. He knew the defense just as well as we did. Like he knows Mike Vrabel. He knows Josh McDaniels. Like he knows how these guys operate. Like that's a lot of information that he's going to be able to offer to these coaches when they start game planning. And now he doesn't know personnel as well. Like he's not going to be able to tell you how Julian Edelman's going to be able to run an over route or a juke route, but he'll tell you how Stephon Diggs is going to be able to do it, right? And he's not going to be able to tell you what Drake is seeing, but he's going to tell you what he's being coached to see, because he's been in those meetings. He knows how Josh coaches and how he's going to call things. So I don't think that he's like the game changer of like what he's going to be able to offer, but any sort of information at this point in the season can be huge when you use to your advantage. And Nick Caserio is one of the all-time. He's great, man. I love being around Nick. He was such a good GM, and he cared so much about winning, right? And that football team, and it showed. It showed with everything that he did while I was there and the years that he was in New England. I mean, he was as much of a part of his building that franchise as anybody else was.
I still think there's an alternate universe out there where he is the GM and Josh McDaniels is the head coach of the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Is there still, if the timeline, if they had been able to kind of, make the timeline work for all the parties involved, I think he would have.
If you believe in alternate universes and there's other worlds out there, like they're winning Super Bowls somewhere else as a duo. They got Bill exited and is on his own terms, and he's not coaching at UNC with his girlfriend, and Josh got the head job and Nick stayed there, and then the franchise never went down. For the last couple of years, they just continued to ascend.
There was no dip. It was all just a straight line.
Yeah.
FanDuel has New England as 2.5-point favorites with an over-under at 40.5 as we sit here on Tuesday morning. I am going to take the Patriots in the under. I think we both ended up winning. We ended up cashing in. If you listened to us last week, you were able to cash in on the Patriots and Chargers. Weather.com calls for partly cloudy skies with highs in the low 30s. There is a 32% chance for precipitation. I think the Patriots would prefer, to take the under on the temperature and the over on the precipitation for this one. Let's kind of turn it over on the offensive side of the ball here. When you talk about the Houston offense against the New England defense, does anything in particular stand out for you about C.J. Stroud? I know he's had some turnover issues. Last night against the Steelers. Nico Collins was injured. We don't know if he's going to be able to go as we sit here right now. I think he's obviously a key part of what they want to get done offensively. And then running back Woody Marks, the rookie out of USC, 196 carries, 703 rushing yards, 3.6 yards per carry. There's nothing really for me special, when you talk about this Houston offense. I think C.J. Stroud is relatively steady, and if he has Nico Collins, I think there's his guy. But if he doesn't have Collins, I'm not sure what that offense looks like moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think CJ he rides the waves. I think very much so. And when things are good, things are really good, and when things are bad, it's not good. So I think it really all depends on how this game starts to play out. If we're able to if our defense is able to get to them, if we're able to kind of force them and be a little bit one-dimensional, whether it's in the passing or running game. You saw how effective Milton was when he, having him back. I think that they're going to be hesitant to let's get the running game going, but with all those signs pointing towards you're going to have to put the ball in the air to try to beat us. And I think if Nico, if he's able to go and you have a couple other guys, this will be a challenge. I think that we're going to be challenged more in the passing game, with our secondary. I also think that Justin was not as mobile as CJ, and that is another challenge for us, maybe having to cover guys for a little bit longer and make sure that we're doing a good job and staying with whatever off or whatever defense we happen to be in, just kind of being sound there, not holding, not doing it, not having any sort of unnecessary penalties when plays kind of extend outside the box. But I think the keys to us on defense is being not one-dimensional. I think that we continue to kind of mix things up, and you saw how effective we were able to be against the Chargers. Get to CJ, get him outside the pocket, and force him to put the ball in the air, right? And make them one-dimensional, because, like you said, they have rookie running back. I don't think they're going to be going into these meetings and this week saying we need to run the football against these guys, because we've shown when we're healthy it's hard to do, right? So of course they're going to come out and they're going to have their play action and a mix of different runs, but I think they'll probably be unique in the way that they run the football. And then passing, it's how well are we going to be able to do against this secondary, right? Who are we going to attack? Who are we going to go after? How are we going to do it? Is it going to be a tight end game? Are we going to try to be over the middle? Are we going to go after Christian? Are we going to go after Carlton Davis? Couldn't tell you, right? I think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to kind of see unfold in the first half of this game, and kind of see, okay, this is, Texans are coming out and they're throwing the rock, right? And they might spread us out and get the ball in and out of his hands, not give our guys up front a chance to get to CJ and make him uncomfortable. And I think that's, we're going to have to kind of let that play out. It's going to be a defensive game again. It really is. Texans got a good defense. We have a good defense. I think what this game really comes down to is which quarterback plays better, right? Who's going to be able to positively move the ball down the field, get into scoring position, whether it's field goals or touchdowns. Anything with points on the board, I think is positive. And then again, it's like that hidden yardage kind of thing, right? If it becomes a defensive battle, right, and we're going back and forth, 3 and out, not being able to put points, who's gonna make the other team go the length of the field, right, and have to do that, because that's hard to do for 4 quarters. And we were able to do that last weekend, and that made it really hard for Justin and that offense to get all the way down the field, and they just weren't able to get there, right? So this is I'm more intrigued to watch this matchup than I was against the Chargers. Yes. I wasn't worried as much about the Chargers. I think it was, they had some guys, but it wasn't someone that was like, oh my God, this is going to be a tough game. This is a good defense, right? And they got some players and some guys that can really positively affect games. And, it's, again, 1 game season, man. So they get these New England and Josh Braves, they know that how urgent they need to be in these meetings and what practice needs to be like and what it needs to look like and what guys need to be doing. And they're preaching that this week, and these guys are going to be ready. I can positively tell you that this New England team will be ready to go on Sunday. Or what are we playing Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday at 3.
Sunday at 3. Great.
The 2 major health questions for the Patriots coming into this one as we sit here on Tuesday morning. Paris Tonga, he missed the playoff opener with a foot injury. He has now missed 3 games, the last 2 games of the regular season and the first game of the postseason. And Christian Gonzalez. Gonzalez went down with a concussion. He is in concussion protocol. We asked Mike about it yesterday. He remains in concussion protocol, and he is obviously a major part. Both of those guys are a major part of what the Patriots want to get done on the defensive side of the ball. Those are two guys to monitor specifically over the course of the week. Before we get away from this and look at some other playoff stuff, Hunter, 15 sacks. Anderson, 12 sacks. They have 4 guys with 4 interceptions each. This is a very smart, talented, opportunistic defense. If the Patriots can figure this out, and I'm wondering if the best course of action here for Josh is to find a way to use that aggression against him, whether it's reverses, whether it's play fakes, whatever, get him going in the wrong direction, and then take advantage of that, the ability to get a little bit of separation, a step or two here or there. Because again, I'm with you. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a game that's going to be in the teens, maybe the low 20s, like we said before. Yeah. I think we're both betting the under in this one. Yep. So I think this is going to be a similar type of game as to what we saw with the Chargers, where it's going to be all about opportunistic situations. It's going to be about complementary football. It's about flipping the field, and it's about the team that makes the biggest play at the biggest possible moment. There's very little separation between these two teams. So it's going to have to be a major play in a major moment that's going to make the difference in this one.
I mean, they're very similar teams when you really look at it, right? I mean, offense has been good, and both have been able to get the job done this year, but we both have been relying on the strength of our team is our defense, right? And I think that's the same thing with the Houston Texans. I think what this game is going to come down to is who's able to be better and got to have a type situations. You saw, like teams are going for it in 4th and short, right? And especially in New England, the weather, you get across the 50-yard line, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, let's not punt. Like, let's kind of 4th and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 3, even 4th and 4. I mean, teams are going for it, right? So who's able to kind of come up big in those types of situations? Who's able to get someone off the field on a 3rd and long, right? And who's able to be better in the red zone? So, and then obviously turnovers. So I think those gotta have it type situations are going to be huge when they come up, because they're going to come up. Turnovers and hurt some of these red zone possessions into points, right? 3 versus 6, that's going to be a difference at the end of the game, right? How many opportunities are we actually going to get, to get into the red zone and put points on the board? So all of these possessions become, everything just again, that sense of urgency, man. You just never know. It's the playoffs now. We're not thinking about next week or who we got next week. It's, this is like, let's treat these games as 1 possession games. Just take it 1 possession at a time. And every single possession is so important, right? To be able to either positively, put points on the board, or to, affect that hidden yardage, that field position battle, if it's going to be that type of game. So, and I think that's all going to be talked about. These guys are very well coached. Mike knows, Josh knows, the staff knows. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going into this game, a lot of game planning, a lot of coaching being done. And this is going to be a good football game. It really is. It's going to be first 2 good teams. I would expect Drake to come out and play a lot better this game, and as well as some of the other guys too. It seemed like there's a little bit of playoff jitters in there. So it's probably going to be a great week of practice for them, and then it's going to be a good game on Sunday.
You mentioned Drake, and a lot of the conversation around him, obviously, through really the course of the entire season, has been about the MVP race. And at the end of the year, it came down to him and Matthew Stafford. We obviously don't know who's won yet. That will be announced a little bit later on. But your old pal, Tom Brady, made some news about a week or so ago when he said Matthew Stafford should be MVP this year and not Drake Maye. I was wondering what thoughts, if at all, you had about his comments, and maybe if you had some specific comments when talking about the MVP conversation this year.
Listen, both those guys have played great football. And I don't want to take this route where you're like, oh, how many more seasons does Matthew have? Like, should we just give it to Matthew? Drake's a young quarterback. He's going to have a lot more opportunities to do it. I will say this, watching the Carolina game, he did not have his best game again, right? And I'm watching that and I'm saying, well, you know what? If they lose this game, then now we really should be talking about Drake being the MVP. But he didn't play well. but Drake didn't have his best game. So I can't tell you that there was these games really like separated either of them. So I think that these playoff games are, if one of these guys comes away with a loss and the other one comes away with a win, and one of them just outplayed the other one in these playoff games, I think that needs to kind of be talked about, right? This is a playoff type situation. The best players are the ones that step up. Neither of them really showed what they're really capable of, in this game, in the first round of the playoffs. So, I think that guys and, the people that are voting for this and deciding who the MVP is, I think you should watch these games a little bit closer, right? And who's the quarterback that's really affecting the outcome of these games. And listen, Matthew is an all-time quarterback. And he's been doing it for a number of years at a high level for a long time. And he is a guy that if he won the MVP, I would be nothing but, could be happy for him, man. I think it's well-deserved. Drake has exceeded everyone's expectations this year. And that's also due to New England exceeding everyone's expectations this year. So I think there's more thoughts and there's more eyes on Drake now because New England's winning football games again. So who should win the MVP? It's not my decision to make, but I think either one of those guys, it's whoever wins, it's well-deserved.
Well, the Patriots have gotten to this point in the season. The AFC divisional round, Sunday at 3, Patriots Texans at Gillette Stadium. We will wrap it all up for you next week. And moving forward, who knows? We might have a preview of the AFC Championship game. We might be talking about the offseason. We shall see. Chris Hogan, as always, my friend.
What are we? How did Danny put it? Should we put this on? It was like Oxborough, stand the fuck up, oh,
like he was cutting a WWE promo
all time, giving the one of these. Right? Oh man, it's all good stuff, man.
So we're gonna get you. The plan is, if it's Patriots Bills, we got to get you to cut a promo during the Patriots Bills AFC Championship.
I'm into it. I'll be there. I already told my wife. I'll tell you, Bills Pats. I said we're gone. So cancel your plans. Get a babysitter. We're gone.
I love it. Chris Hogan, as always, my friend. Take care. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, brother.